Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night somewhere.
Yeah.
We are live at Los Angeles Adobe Live MAX. We are here with Shantanu Sharma. He is this year's Top Talent winner.
Yeah, so nice to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. Where are you coming all the way in from?
New York, but I'm originally from India. But I'm studying in School of Visual Arts. I'm in my junior year. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I am your host, Christine Arth. I'm here with Shantanu, and we're going to walk through some pretty cool stuff today, both using Photoshop and Illustrator.
Yeah.
First off, I wanted to look at your portfolio and take a little bit of time to show everybody what we've got going on here.
Of course.
So talk us a little bit through some of your process, and I know we're going to focus on this one, which is Top Talent, but you know, we've got quite a bit of cool stuff going on.
Yeah. So I'm primarily an illustrator, but I'm studying graphic design. I've just always been drawing since I was a little kid, and I was one of the few people who never stopped, I guess. And then while studying graphic design, I really like to merge my illustrative style along with typography. As you can see over here with Carino, it's one of my favorite graphic design projects I've done so far.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of mine of yours too.
Oh, thank
I'm like,
you.
oh, that's why I'm picking this one. I was like, it's so beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So it's for a Mexican restaurant. It's fictional, of course. It was from my graphic design class taught by John Newman, and back at SVA. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's really nicely done.
Thank you.
So as much as I want to focus on so many of your beautiful projects, I'm really curious what you're going to show us today, because I know we're going to do a little bit of a work session.
Yeah.
But also start by showing what the Top Talent award-winning piece was.
Yeah. So I'm going to start by just showing you what won, and going to take you through that process.
Amazing.
So the final piece kind of looks like this one right here.
Oh, we can switch over to Shantanu's screen so that we can take a look at what he's got. Yeah, perfect.
So this is what I'm going to take you through today. It's so I had an idea about, it was called Talking to Myself, because most of my work is based on self-portraits and based on stories that I like to tell about myself through a visual manner and through illustration and through graphic design. So I had an idea, but I wanted to include photography and illustration and just see where that took me, because I really like to explore and experiment with different mediums. So the greatest thing about being in an art school is that you've got so many people from different fields who are interested in different things.
Totally.
So I got one of my friends, Jan Morales. He's a really talented photographer, to help me take a photo and to base my vision on. So the main premise of this is to take you through my creative process and how we as artists communicate visually, and it feels like sometimes we may not have a voice through the anxieties that we have through creating.
Right.
So I wanted to show the process take you through like a more personal way into showing something like this. Yeah.
Really cool. And you already have a lot of people out in chat saying, wow, this is extraordinary. So let me just go ahead and say hello to some people while you pull up your mood board. Hey Jordan, Steve, Tim, Anatai, Monir, Stone. Wow, Lisa, everybody, welcome back. Marilyn,
thanks for
tuning in.
This is
really nice to have you all here. If you have any questions for Shantanu, I was like, I wanted to say Sharma first.
Takes a second, no worries.
If you have any questions, please let us know, because he's here and you can always stop back by after.
Of course.
So, take us through.
Yeah, so I usually start with a sketch, and always rough sketch and hand draw it first, so there's like a hand-in-hand mode, and I'm not really giving up the traditional side of things where I really started from and where my roots are from. But again, it's really hard not to take it online, because I feel it adds more of a pop, and it really gels well with my style and my vision and what I'm trying to communicate. So for this particular piece, I started by outlining an original self-portrait, and around that coming up with spirals to show constriction and constraint in my creative process somehow. So
very cool.
Now I then transfer that onto the main piece and see how that looks. Again, we can just zoom right into my face.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And
what was your inspiration behind doing this piece in general? I know you mentioned like the anxieties of it, but...
So I really wanted to come up with something where I could use two different mediums and have them merge together.
Yeah.
And I really felt like photography and illustration was a real, was one of the first ideas I had for this particular piece. And of course, my main inspirations are Cindy Sherman and Jessica Walsh. So I just love looking at their work, and now trying to see whether I could create something that resonated with people as much as their work resonated with me.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
It's not always as prominently done to be successful when you merge both illustration and photography together in a natural way, but it looks beautiful.
Thank you so much. So I use the pencil tool to draw a few lines, and then try and get them to link together and make sure they're all placed together so there's no, it can be easily live painted. Mm-hmm. And of course you want to make sure that it's a stroke.
You're like, we got to make sure these vectors connect. Yeah. We're going to get really nerdy here in a minute. I'm like, did you connect that? Okay, good.
Yeah,
just making sure.
And then I feel like once I've got the colors in place, I always pick my three favorite colors, yellow, blue, and light yellow to add some contrast.
Are these your three favorite colors?
So it started off with picking out the yellow. Mm-hmm. So yellow is my favorite color, and I wanted to see what my least favorite shade of yellow was. So I did a lot of experimentation and like
my least favorite shade.
Yeah, because
favorite color, least favorite shade.
I really wanted to see how I could choose my least favorite shade and make that work into my work and see, because it's just a challenge.
I like it. Constraints are good. You know, you got to box yourself in. If you don't, then it's all over the place.
Exactly. If you're not boxed in, it's hard to get out of that box.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then the next step is select it, hit K for, and then for live paint, select your color, and then just fill in the colors really easily, so that there's. There. You don't want to do that.
You're like, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But maybe.
Maybe. Sometime.
Sometime.
Maybe useful if that's what you're trying to do. And then just easily fill in wherever you need to go.
This is great.
Yeah.
Great process, too. Because it makes it much quicker to go in and just change things.
Using the tools at hand and like using them to the best of your advantage. And once you've got that in place, it looks something like this. And you may notice that my layers are very well organized. So I've kind of got a life motto when I'm designing, and especially when a few hundred people are watching.
Yeah, right?
We always label our layers.
I love that. Look at you.
Just coming up prepared.
You're like, look, I've prepared for this.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Of course.
I am ready.
So Singham had a question. Is that made in Illustrator? Yeah. So I start by hand drawing first. So I make a lot of rough sketches, and then I scan that image and get it onto Illustrator and draw over it with the pencil tools, just so I can refine the lines and make sure everything is where I want it to be. And then, so it's easier to color as well, just saving time and using the integration between Illustrator and Photoshop to create something that's more unique and more my style, I guess. But yeah, it's made in Illustrator. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Christina and Juliana says it's cool, it's fun. What a challenge. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And Tim Mobeast, who's the Mobest, says, wow, these are all vectors?
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah, that's a lot of vector work. How long does it usually take you to create a piece like this?
So conceptualizing usually takes about a week or so, because I really want to, I experiment and play around with a lot of different compositions, because I just love getting the right composition in place, just so I'm making the right choice moving forward. But then once I start, sketching takes a while, about a few hours, until I get my vision in place. And then getting it onto Illustrator and then Photoshop and getting onto the next steps that I'll be taking you guys through. That usually takes roughly around 6 to 7 hours, or mostly a day. So it's really nice. I just pick a nice day on the weekend, sit, draw something, and it's really therapeutic, really nice to get your
Nice. I like that you're using this as therapy.
Yeah.
You're like, art therapy.
Of course.
For anyone out there. All right, so what's the next step?
So the next step is to import this onto Photoshop. So you get that. And then this is how it looks when I import the vector as a PNG onto Photoshop.
Yep.
And then I like to add shadows and highlights just to make it pop and add a bit of depth and dimension to it, just so it doesn't really look too vectory.
Yeah.
Because I like the hand-in-hand nature of it, because when I talk to a lot of people, especially designers who kind of geek out over this thing,
yeah.
A lot of the questions I get is whether it's a vector or not, like we just did.
Right, yeah, because it's hard to tell. Once you bring something back and forth, it's really interesting to have that parity where you're merging the two so closely.
And that's kind of the reason why I draw first, is because I want to keep the imperfections and have that same hand-drawn style.
Right.
So I'm not really compromising either or, but still making it work hand in hand, just so it's just more unique and more my style, I guess.
Totally. Hi, Christian. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
Monty, Patricia, Cheryl, Kroll, Huxel. Hey guys, Jesse. Amazing. It's really nice to see some people back in chat again, and I hope you guys are sticking with us for the rest of the day because we have a lot of fun stuff. Victoria's actually coming up next, and she's also a top talent winner, so it's going to be fun, and she'll focus in XD. Yeah.
So my next step is basically highlight and select whatever area I'd like to draw on, and then I make a new layer and create a mask, just so I get rid of those lines and and I'm easily able to draw into it. So what I usually like to do is pick a black color, make sure the opacity is on 25 and it's on multiply, just so you're adding a bit of depth and dimension, and then just easily draw with that to add that effect. So I usually just use really simple, basic Photoshop brushes, nothing too unique or nothing too special.
Just bringing in some shadow.
Bringing in some shadow, identify your light source, and then do a bit of that. Once you've got that in place, it kind of looks like this. So as you can see, there's already some depth to it.
Yep.
And then...
Very snaky.
Very snaky.
Very snaky.
Very snaky.
Yeah.
So then,
hey, Donna.
Hey. And then... So I do the same with the face, do the same with everything else and all other elements. See what else I can add to get that, to make it pop more and have that effect. And then I add highlights to make it look a bit shiny, because I kind of really like that effect. It really goes well with vector shapes and makes it really stand out, I feel.
Yeah, it really does start to feel, especially when you put the highlights in there.
Yeah.
You know, it feels much more dimensional, but also you can't really tell if you've done this in Photoshop or Illustrator, which is the trick. That's the whole purpose of this process, right? It's to trick people.
Yeah, the live stream was supposed to be about Illustrator, but here I am on Photoshop. This is the trick about here.
Exactly.
And then I take it onto the main piece where I have my photo. So I imported that straight from that file and placed it in there. And then I add more shadows just so it isn't too separate from the photo and the illustration, because as you can see, it doesn't really look a part of it right now.
Yeah.
It could use a bit more shadows and dimensions.
It's got such good dimension. It really does. So why the snake?
Why the snake? Yeah. So I really like swirly things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like my style and
You're
what
like,
I like.
I just like swirly things,
I just like
you know.
swirly things.
I'm like, I wouldn't describe a snake as swirly, but that's you.
Yeah.
That's cool. I would say like more mischievous and sneaky.
Oh yeah, possibly.
And also strangling.
Yeah.
You know?
Just to get that constriction
and
really add to the concept.
Well, it's interesting that you're strangling yourself.
Yeah. Who else? Yeah.
Exactly.
So I guess it comes from a lot of inspirations because I was exposed to a lot of pop culture as a child. So I guess my main inspiration, probably like one that's coming to mind right now, was the basilisk from Harry Potter.
Yes.
So maybe that could
I definitely had a Harry Potter vibe, and I was like waiting for you to say it, because I'm like, maybe, but I don't know. And I was like, yeah. It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, and then I add these shadows over here with a softer brush and make sure, again, playing around with the multiply, seeing what works, because maybe this would be a bit too strong for the piece.
So Christian's asking, why not do the shadows in Illustrator?
I really like using a softer round brush, just so you're getting
got a little bit of a feathered edge to it.
A bit of a feathered edge. It doesn't look too vectory, and again, there's still hand in hand with the Illustrator and the Photoshop looks, just so you're not really, it's either or.
Keeps the illusion real, where you're like, what did he do?
Hi Vanshika, it's nice you're here.
Hey.
And then, so as you can see, I added the shadows. This is what it looks without them, and this is what it looks with them, just so there's a bit of a more muffled effect.
Oh yeah, shadows. I'm like leaning over, I'm like, yeah, you really got that on the face.
Thank you. And then, so once I'm done with that, I still feel like it's kind of empty. I still feel like the photo kind of looks too much like a photo, and the illustration kind of live in their own separate worlds.
Right.
So I just to fix that, just for my little preference, I just pick a brush from Photoshop. I was really feeling the halftone brush because that's when Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out. So everything, that halftone style was really
You're
going.
Like comics, man. Yeah. That's where it's at. If we're gonna do anything today, we're gonna do comic.
And then, so I take that brush, and then I just add little elements in white, just so you're getting that same effect.
Oh. Yeah. So you're kind of vectorizing yourself.
Kind of vectorizing myself.
I like this.
And so there's like not too much of a difference between the illustration and the photo.
Yep.
Again, make a new layer, of course.
I think that that's the key in design in general. It's the subtle details that really bring things together that, you know, without them it's good, but then with them it becomes magnificent.
Of course, it just adds to the fun of creating for yourself as well, because again, I love to zoom into my work and look at I'm very nitpicky about almost every little detail.
Yeah, right.
And I like to make sure everything is up to par and just like meets my expectations and standards in terms of my work, because I don't want to be creating subpar work, of course.
Yeah.
And then I just keep going until I'm happy with it.
Yep, finding those little spots where the light might hit you.
Yep, and then kind of looks like that.
Oh, hello, Roger McGree. Nice to see you out there.
Hello.
Hello.
So nice you're here.
Yeah.
Hey, Armand. Thank you for tuning in. He's one of my best friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And then, so once I'm done with this, it kind of looks like that.
Crazy.
Again, so I like add a little bit more emotion and more.
I do like the little squiggles around your expression.
Again, you keep going with the whole comic vibe that I was inspired by at the time when I made this sometime earlier this year.
Do you add typography into some of these of your own? Or you think you're going to
sometimes.
For this one?
Maybe.
Well, I mean, you've got some really nice lettering in your portfolio, so I wouldn't see why not.
Sure. So, yeah, why don't we do that? Yeah.
You're like, yeah, why not? I'm like, well, if you want to.
We can try.
You're like asking, you shall receive.
Shall we?
Shall we? Yeah, we shall. Why not? It's on the fly.
Okay,
this is great. Awesome. You're like, I didn't prepare this. Let's do it. Why not?
Let's just wing it.
What would be the thing that you would say, or what is he keeping you from saying? That's the real question. Maybe chat knows.
Yeah. What do you have to recommend,
Oh,
guys?
Abdul says that. What about a funny laugh?
What about a funny laugh?
Yeah, like mwah.
So like a ha ha ha.
Kind of like a comic laugh. Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. Mwah.
So we can take that onto Illustrator.
Yeah, and then Sarah's asking, are you using a Wacom?
Yes, I am. It's in Duos. It's like right here.
Everybody always wants to know about the tools, right?
Yeah. So I usually take a really smaller one because I thought about buying a larger one, but then I looked at the shadow of where my main points are, and it's just right dead center.
Man.
So it's really hard to.
Yeah, your little.
I don't know if the light reflects. The
oily finger marks. Yeah, that's like me too.
Yep. So like,
yeah.
I prefer the smaller one because it's easier to go travel on the go, and especially if you're coming from like New York to LA and like walk around with all your tools around Max.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Tim Moby says it's probably the best font to use would be Comic Sans.
Yeah, I disagree.
You're like, no. You're like, I strongly disagree, Tim Moby.
Yes. Are you a designer?
He is, but yes.
Oh, okay. I know that's a joke. I'm just kidding.
No, we're kidding.
So,
super funny.
Yeah. So maybe we can add the typography if you like. So,
well, I like seeing all of your textures. It's pretty cool. And I know that we only have some limited time here,
yeah.
But still, there's pretty fun things that you can do.
Okay, I've been really into grain so far, so maybe we can add a bit of grain and see how that goes.
Yeah, let's try it out.
So we can go ahead and select my main asset over here. As you can see, it's already selected. Create a new layer and then mask that just so we're getting rid of the lines. And here's one of my favorite brushes, which is the light
Heidi's
grain.
asking a little bit about your process afterwards. Are you planning on going freelance after you graduate or full-time in an agency?
So I like to work at a creative studio or probably get some agency experience just so I have that experience under my belt. And then, because I'm leaning more towards design, but I'm using illustration as a tool to communicate that visually through my design work and branding and other sorts of things. So I'm leaning into motion, I'm going more into typography kind of work, just really trying to expand myself because I feel like I already have illustration as a skill and that I can use in the future, and I have that tool under my belt. But as many tools as I can gather and get would just be more helpful and make me a more valuable asset, I guess.
Oh, I like that approach. I think that's very honest and very true to where you're at, you know?
I mean,
I feel like we all can learn and continue to keep learning over time, so this is great.
I mean, as a student, you're kind of just, we're all lost, but it's just
that doesn't change.
That doesn't change, yeah. Well, I hope
like,
not.
It's always going to feel that way.
Oh my God, but yeah.
You're like, oh no. Yeah. I'm like, don't worry.
Just burst the bubble right here.
Like,
it's going to get better. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, maybe you can draw a bubble behind him and we'll burst it. Yeah, be like, it always gets better. We swear.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, but like, right now is the time to experiment, I feel, and I don't really want to limit myself into one thing for the rest of my life. I kind of want to, because
keep the doors open.
Exactly. Because if I'm a student right now and I'm not really experimenting right now, when else am I going to have as much time as I do to experiment and try to find new things?
Very, very good approach and very wise words said from a young man.
Ooh. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of flack here because I'm like probably the only person in the group under 21. So it's,
oh wow!
Yeah. So
well, congratulations on being such an accomplished illustrator at such a young age.
So I really like to add like more grains in here, just so like again there's more detail. Again, really, really subtle, but then when it's just something for me because I like to zoom into it.
Yeah, definitely.
And kind of notice. And again, as you can see, I added a bit of the yellow with the halftone brush just to add more shadows, just so again there's still some connect with the main photo with the halftone over there with the illustration, and just so there's not that much disparity between the two.
Yeah.
Because again, make everything cohesive and just make it feel like a finished piece. That's kind of what I'm going for. So just keep adding more grain just so it's a more gritty effect, because right now everything looks super shiny and super bright, which I love as well.
Yeah, it's got this poppy feel, but if you're trying to make it feel more like a comic, then having a little bit of grit and deterioration in some areas is really more true to the style.
It's all in the details, yeah.
Hello, Elena. Thank you for watching.
So funny.
Third day with live, yeah.
Oh my God, thank you for joining, yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you for calling me funny, yeah. I feel like that's one of the best compliments I can get.
Yeah, right? Pamela says the same thing. She's like, nice work and good luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you. So, same with you, yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Again, just adding more of that grit to it, just so it's...
A little more grit. I like
more
this.
Grit, and then add it to the yellow sweater as well, just so, again, keeping the same.
Yeah, there's those little subtle differences and details that you bring out that really start to enhance the work and show your process as a more unique skill. So this is good.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Again, just like trying to manipulate the photo, but still trying to keep in mind the illustration bit, just so we're there.
Alberto Silva, welcome, man.
Hey.
It's good to see you. Bahana, Abdul.
Thank you for joining.
Lots of people showing up.
Yeah.
This is great.
Oh my God.
Steve. Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be my mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cute. Is your mom out there? We can say hi. Hi, Mom.
Yeah. Hey, Mom. It's like 12:30 in India right now. So
oh, amazing. She's
probably
watching, though, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, totally. I feel like even my mom is watching.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So like, just keep more grit.
More grit.
Yeah. Just add to the effect.
Pretty awesome.
And again, if anyone has any questions, I'd love to answer it.
Well, this has been really amazing seeing your process, watching you work and creating something that is merging two tools that are usually not merged in this way. So I really appreciate it and love the idea and look forward to seeing more work from you.
Thank you.
Shantanu, thank you so much for being here, and stick with us because we have another guest. Victoria is coming up next, and she's also a Top Talent winner this year for the Adobe ADA Award.
She is, and she's great. You guys should definitely check in. And follow me on Instagram at shantanu.sharma, or you can find my work on shantanusharma.net.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Christine.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.